Welcome to yet another episode of TV Africa News. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Luima, but first are the headlines. Public hospitals are running out of medicine as the finance national medical stores trade blame. Doctor arrested in Palisa over corruption. U.S. ambassador to the UN urges donors to help Somalia. KCC AFC forward joins Maroons on loan. Welcome once again. Now the news in detail. Police in Palisa district has arrested one medical doctor for allegedly demanding 200,000 Uganda shillings to perform an operation on an expectant mother. This was revealed by police spokesperson Fred Enanga as he addressed the media in Kampala. Ahumza with more.
According to the police spokesperson Fred Enanga, the arrested has been identified as Dr. Naya Jesse, who allegedly demanded for 200,000 Ugandan shillings from an expectant mother who had failed to deliver normally. Enanga adds that her husband failed to raise the money and reported the matter to the RDC Palisa, who acted swiftly and ordered for the arrest of the suspect. He also revealed that they will continue to demonstrate their continued commitment to stemming acts of corruption, bribery and extortion out of hospitals, saying the vulnerable population has been undermined by such individuals. Enanga further promised that they will continue to partner with all victimized and vulnerable persons and other stakeholders to vigorously pursue those who use government health care programs for personal gains.
Tororo General Hospital and a number of public health facilities across the country are facing a shortage of medical supplies. Walter Oliek, the Tororo General Hospital administrator, confirmed that the hospital has gone months without receiving supplies from national medical stores. We have more on this report. The National Medical Stores delivery schedule indicates that there should be medical supplies between the months of December and January 2023. However, communication from the National Medical Stores confirms that government health facilities are facing a shortage of drug supply, with the delays having been caused by the late receipt of funds from the Finance Ministry. NMS puts down the drugs shortage to delays in receiving funds at the beginning of every quarter that cause late delivery to health facilities across the country. But while presenting in Parliament this week, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Ramadan Gobi, said the ministry had already released up to 50% of the National Medical Stores budget. Gobi said that there is no reason why there should be lack of medicines in hospitals. Shadow Minister for Health, Dr. Timothy Batua, called on the Finance Ministry to quickly intervene to prevent drug stocks in public health facilities across the country. The minister advised the ministry to cut costs from other government MDAs and ministries to fund the health sector. The first U.S. cabinet member to visit Somalia since 2015 urged the world's donors on Sunday to give immediate help to a country facing deadly famine, which she described as the ultimate failure of the international community.
Speaking in a meeting with the Somalian President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, the U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said that while famine had been averted the last time around, that efforts to fight it should be ramped up now in order to avoid such an incident in March-April this year. Tens of thousands of people are thought to have already died in the drought that also affects parts of neighboring Ethiopia and Kenya. More than 500,000 children under the age of 5 in Somalia alone have severe acute malnutrition, according to the UN Children's Agency. Excess death during what is now Somalia's longest drought on record will almost certainly surpass those of the famine formerly declared in the country in 2011, when more than 250,000 people died. While the latest data assessment released last year found that Somalia had not yet made the benchmarks for a formal famine declaration, the UN and US have made clear that the limited humanitarian aid has only delayed the worst.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In advance of the Harlem Fine Arts Show celebrating its 15th anniversary, some of the artists will be featured in the February 24th to 26th show gathered in Harlem to talk art and the importance of HFAAC platform for African diasporic artists. We have more on this report. Ademola Olugebefola was one of the founding members of the West Sea Artist Collective and has been an advocate for black art and artists since the 1960s. Olugebefola said the show is an important place for old and young interact and learn from each other. For Kylie Finn, a 20-year-old artist debuting in Harlem Fine Arts Show, said she's trying to soak up all the knowledge she can from older, more established artists. Finn, who is a junior at Fashion Institute of Technology, said she found out about the HFAAs on Instagram. The mixing of ages and experience is exactly what HFAA's founder Dion Clark hoped to create 15 years ago. Clark said the show has become so big that it is moving to downtown Manhattan. This year's show will be at the Glass House event space and will start on February 24th. Moving on, Tunisian citizens have expressed little hope one day after the second round of parliamentary elections with record abstention. Preliminary results suggest that nearly 89% of the electorate decided to stay away from the political process.
The first round of the parliamentary elections had already been marked by an abstention of almost 90%, a record since the advent of democracy, where some polls brought together up to 70% of voters in the last decade. The main opposition coalition called on Sunday for a united front against President Kais Saied. According to Liberal professional Gada Ben Amor, as to what those who have been elected are going to do or what they will bring. Muhammad Gausmi, a retired civil servant, said that they are in a transitional period, adding that for the economic situation, everyone must work together from the opposition to those who govern until Tunisia recovers. Tunisians have seen their purchasing power plummet with inflation above 10% and are also facing shortages of subsidized foodstuffs.
Away from that, advocates have said nothing less than a culture change in law enforcement will provide the safety and liberty black people demand. This has come at a moment when an unarmed black man was killed as a result of videotaped police beating and the implicated officers sacked. Nationwide, police have killed roughly 3 people per day consistently since 2020, according to academics and advocates for police reform who track such dates. Tyre Nicholas's fatal encounter with police officers in Memphis, Tennessee, recorded in video made public on Friday night, is a glaring reminder that efforts to reform policing have failed to prevent more flashpoints in an intractable epidemic of brutality. Nearly 32 years ago, Rodney King's savage beating by police in Los Angeles prompted heartfelt calls for change. They have been repeated in Sisley's rhythm ever since, punctuated by the dates of Amadou Diallo in New York, Oscar Grant in Oakland, California, Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and so many others. George Floyd's murder in in Minneapolis in 2020 was so agonizing to watch, it summoned a national reckoning that featured federal legislation proposed in his name and shows of solidarity by corporations and sports leagues. All fell short of the shift in law enforcement culture. Black people in America have called for a culture that promotes freedom from fear, trust in police, and mutual respect. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko on Monday arrived in Zimbabwe for talks with his counterpart, in which analysts said was an attempt by the two leaders to diversify their diplomatic ties.
The Belarusian president's office said that Lukashenko, 68, landed in the capital Harare, where he was welcomed by President Emmerson Mnangagwa, 80, and thousands of ruling ZANU-PF party supporters. Around 5,000 people chanting slogans and songs converged on the tarmac at Robert Mugabe International Airport in Harare as part of the welcome. The two leaders, who have both faced Western sanctions, held an official meeting on Tuesday. Zimbabwe's foreign ministry said the talks aimed at strengthening the existing excellent relations between the two countries in areas including politics, mining, and agriculture. The minister said in a statement that the visit is historic, as it is the first time such undertaking to a sub-Saharan African nation by President Lukashenko. His trip follows a 2019 visit by Mnangagwa to Minsk, after which Belarus opened an embassy in Harare. It comes with the two countries under a decree of diplomatic isolation, their leaders and government officials targeted by Western sanctions.
In our health news today, the Nairobi River has turned sewer conduit in Kenya's capital. Its waters turn from clear to black as it traverses informal settlements and industrial hubs. As clean water runs short, one of Africa's fastest growing cities is struggling to balance the needs of creating jobs and protecting the environment, and the population of over 4 million feels the strain. According to Issa Musa, a resident of Dandora slums, polluting of the river problems start upstream, where informal settlements like Korogocho have directed some of their sewer lines into the river. The slum has more than 35,000 adults, according to the 2019 national census. Most informal settlements, which house informal laborers and their families, are not connected to sewer lines and have open trenches where residents pour dirty water that flows into the river. The river and its tributaries pass through Kibera, known as Africa's largest slum, and dozens of factories that manufacture textiles, liquor, and building materials. All have been accused by environmentalists of discharging raw sewage and other pollutants into the waters. The NEMA boss hopes the national government's program to build affordable housing will mean more people have good sanitation. And finally, in our sports news today, KCC AFC striker Brian Kayanja has joined Maroons FC on loan until the end of the season. The gangly forward, who has struggled to get playing time at MTN Omondi, has sought solace in Luzira. Ahomza with more.
KCCA FC striker Brian Kayanja becomes the second signing the prison warders have confirmed on deadline day, joining Abel Etrude, who returns to Maroons also on a 6-month deal. Kayanja performed relatively well while at Saltillo Bright Stars before moving to Sofapaka in Kenya 2 years ago. Upon his return to Uganda, he joined UPDF FC in 2021 and played for them for a season before joining KCCA at the start of the 2021-2022 season. At KCCA, Kayanja has failed to command playing time, being down in the pecking order with Brian Ahewa, Charles Luanga and Muhammad Shaban.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.